gonna apologize right out of the gate. I guess the upside of Tucker doing his show staring into the sun is that he has to squint so much it stops his eyebrow furrow. By the way, this is, in case you don't know, this is Tucker Carlson. I don't know why the closed caption is on. There you go. This is Tucker Carlson live from Budapest. And to all our friends in Hungary, hoj voj, hoj mint. That's how's it going? Hi. One of the great loves of my life is Hungarian. She's a lovely woman, and her family still lives there. And for the record, before we even start this, let's enjoy this under the premise, and hopefully you're aware that Tucker Carlson's show, as it is in this country, could not exist in any form in Hungary. They would not allow him to go on nightly criticizing the government the way he is allowed to in the United States. Not at all. Just for the record. The only reason he's allowed to come over there and interview their leader is because he's using it to talk shit about our country, about America. If he went over there, they would have denied the interview if he was going over there to shit on Hungary's immigration policies and that kind of stuff. And the reason he is honestly the reason he is there is because they have one of the most draconian anti-immigrant stances, and they're like, it's gnarly, but that's why he's there. Okay, let's just be abundantly clear. But I want to see, this is called Hungarian Prime Minister hits back at Biden, calling him a thug on Tucker. Because if you haven't known, this is Biden and Tucker, and this is Biden. A thug. Tuckums is a good name for him. That's a good nickname, guys. I like it. That's a keeper. Let's see what Tuckums has to say. Tucker Carlson is our guest tonight on Tucker Carlson Tonight. Budapest up here in the corner. Are you sure you don't want to put a up in this corner, put like Tucker Carlson as well? So that people know.
I'm going to Tucker Carlson Tonight.
Oh, good. All right. I was confused for a second who you were.
Of the nearly 200 different countries on the face of the earth, precisely one of them has an elected leader who publicly identifies as a Western-style conservative.
And if I was a Western-style conservative, that would offend me.
His name is Viktor Orban. He's the Prime Minister of Hungary. Hungary is a small country in the middle of Central Europe. It has no navy. It has no nuclear weapon.
Well, I'm shocked that a landlocked country doesn't have a giant navy. I mean, do you even military, bro?
Its GDP is smaller than New York State's. So you wouldn't think leaders...
So, wait a minute. The New York State that's run by a Democrat, its biggest city is run by a Democrat, it's smaller than that? And the guy calls himself a Western conservative?
Washington would pay a lot of attention to Hungary.
Why?
They do, obsessively. By rejecting the tenets of neoliberalism, Viktor Orban has personally offended them and enraged them. What does Viktor Orban...
Really? Was I supposed to wake up enraged at Viktor Orban today? I missed it. I gotta remember to put it in the calendar.
...believe. Just a few years ago, his views would have seemed moderate and conventional.
Oh, I think what you're seeing right there... Hold on one second, guys.
He thinks...
Guys, I think there's a... Hold on. Whoops. Let's see. There we go. Oh, guess not. Oh, no. This is the wrong one. Sorry. I'm fixing something. Hold on. Sigbug. There we go. Whoops. I moved my screen around. 1 second. Why will you grab that thing? Grab it. Grab it. Okay, I don't know why it's being a jerk. That's a speck on the graphic. Sorry about that. That little white speck is, I'll fix it later. Sorry if it's distracting.
Families are more important than banks. He believes countries need borders. For saying these
Well, he's landlocked by a bunch of other European countries, so yeah.
things out loud, Orban has been vilified. Left-wing NGOs have denounced him as a fascist.
Well, that's not just because he thinks countries have borders. Is that the tie?
Destroyer of democracy. Last fall, Joe Biden suggested he's a totalitarian dictator. Official Washington despises
Biden, Hungary's Viktor Orban is a thug. Hits back at Biden colonizers.
Viktor Orban so thoroughly that many, including neocons in and around the State Department, are backing the open anti-Semites who are running against him in next April's elections in Hungary. We've watched all of this from the United States, and we've wondered if what we've heard could be true.
Have we? Have we?
So this week, we came to Hungary to see for ourselves. We sat
did we?
down with Orban for a couple of long conversations, including one this morning.
Yeah, one we taped, and the other one is about the business I'm going to open in securities here after Rudy Giuliani goes to jail and somebody else has to pick that money up off the floor.
Moment, we'll show you some of that, and you can make up your own mind about it.
Okay, cool. I will not make up my mind about it until then, but I will make up my mind about the camera behind you and the fact that you might want to turn down the contrast. I'm just saying, time of day, it's not like you're in front of a window. You could probably go I'm just saying it's a little bright. This is all washed out. It's just low. I mean, your Fox, it should be better. I don't know.
But first, a word about Hungary.
Okay. Bozmag. That's the word about Hungary.
Even if you
Sorry, that's a swear word in Hungarian.
understand that the American news media lie, it is always bewildering to see the extent of their dishonesty. Nothing prepares you for it. We've read many times how repressive Hungary is.
Yeah. Ask gypsies.
Freedom House, an NGO in Washington that's funded almost exclusively by the U.S. government, describes Hungary.
Wait a minute. Not the American government? Well, clearly they're up to no good.
As much less free than South Africa, with fewer civil liberties. That's not just wrong, it's insane. In fact, if you live in the United States, it is bitter to see the contrast between, say, Budapest and New York City. Let's say you lived in a big American city and you decided...
It should come as no surprise that Tucker is 100% clamoring in his teeny little stone heart for a racially homogenous city to live in. Does anybody think that Budapest is as racially diverse as Manhattan, without even including the other boroughs?
To loudly and publicly attack Joe Biden's policies, his policies on immigration or COVID or transgender athletes.
Yeah, it's we take our cues from
If you kept
Orban.
talking like that, you would likely be silenced by Joe Biden's allies in Silicon Valley.
How? How? I mean, there's tons of people talking about those conversations on all the major social media networks all the time. Oh, I see. Because you want to include racial and anti-gay epithets in what you're saying, and misogynistic ones. Let's not forget. So you can't conceptualize discussing those issues in any complex manner. You just want a giant mallet made out of racial slurs, and if you can't use those, then are you really free?
If you kept it up, you might very well have to hire armed bodyguards. That's...
Oh yeah. By the way, he has armed bodyguards in Hungary right now.
Common in the U.S. Ask around. But it's unknown in Hungary.
You know who has to hire armed bodyguards? The squad.
Opposition figures here don't worry that they will be hurt for their opinions.
Yeah, they just don't even say them.
By the way, is the prime minister. Orban regularly...
How or the what?
Drives himself with no security. So who's freer? In what country are you more likely to lose your job for disagreeing with the ruling class's orthodoxy? The answer is pretty obvious, though if you're an American, it is painful to admit it, as we have discovered. With that, here's Viktor Orban. His accent's pretty thick, but his English is precise. He's worth hearing.
You think? Okay, so his accent's pretty thick, his English is precise, and he's worth hearing. Worth hearing.
Mr. Prime Minister, thank you very much.
Thank you for shining the table as well. I love the idea of a bookshelf that goes all the way to the floor, but you obviously couldn't see it because of the table, and this reflection gives us the illusion that we are magically appearing inside a bookshelf. It's very Harry Potter. It's a little awkward sitting directly across from you. Usually we would rake our seats so that we're sitting kind of at an angle, and this isn't your desk, so I don't know where... Oh, I see. It's a studio. This is a fake space. And there's no audience. Shiny table. Okay.
2015, hundreds of thousands of migrants appear on your southern border. They appear all over Europe. They stream into Germany. The rest of the EU says, welcome, please come. We can handle it. We're strong enough.
Hungary says, we're weak. We can't do it.
Stands alone in saying no.
And no, we're weak. We can't handle it. We are too weak.
Why? Why did you take a different position on my...
Because they're gypsies. I mean, not all of them are gypsies. Just their mother and fathers are gypsies. But they're not gypsies. We're not letting gypsies in the place, okay?
Migration from other
We don't want the gypsies coming into the
European countries.
That was the only reasonable behavior. If somebody without getting any permission on behalf of the Hungarian state cross your border, you have to defend your country.
Yeah, and that's how you get your country full of gypsies, okay?
To say, guys, stop. And if you would like to cross or you would like to come, there's a legal procedure. We have to do it.
Yes, because someone, like, if you let gypsies come in, the first thing, you don't even realize you're just getting, someone's making out with you, and all of a sudden you have a brown spot on your lip. And then what do you do?
Can't cross.
Oh my God, it's happened.
Without any kind of limitation and permission and any contribution and control.
Gypsy is a slur. I literally am speaking in the way that Hungarians speak about gypsies. That's the point I'm trying to make. And it is not the same kind of slur. You wanted me to call them pikeys? That's how they refer to them. Literally, the conversation, it is a running gag in Hungarian circles. If you don't believe me, go to Toronto and ask some. That they go, I'm not a gypsy, but my mother and father are gypsies. That is the constant, cool. I'm glad you have gypsy roots, Don. That's awesome. Have you dated Romanian yet? No, but it's on my bucket list. All right, I can't help you. It's not the same thing.
The Hungarian state, it's dangerous. You have to defend your people against any danger.
And you think you have a right to do that?
Well, of course they have a right to. We do the same thing. We expel people all the time. You think you have a right to do that? What is the? I mean, this is so dumb.
Of course, it's coming from the God, the nature. So all arguments with us.
Yeah, like we just use magic lightning bolts from sky to zap Serbians who try to sneak in.
This is our country. This is our population. This is our history.
God has told us that this is our land, and if we want to take part of Poland, sure, why not?
This is our language, so we have to do that. Of course, if you are...
And by the way, notice he said this is our language. The Hungarian language is in danger of dying off. This has been a constant problem for them.
In trouble, and there is nobody closer to you than the Hungarians, you have to be helpful. But you can't say simply that, okay, it's a nice country. I would like to come here and to live here because it's a nicer life. This is not a human right to come here. No way, because it's our land. It's a nation, it's a community, families, history, tradition, language.
Saying what you just said...
Yes, it is a racially homogenous country. There is no comparison between Hungary and the United States of America. You know how? Because if you look on your 23andMe, Hungarian can show up. American doesn't.
I think will seem obvious to a lot of our viewers, was very offensive to a lot of countries in Western Europe, to their leaders.
Yeah, because many European countries decided to open a new chapter of their own history of the nation. They call it New Society, which is a
Very sketchy. Obviously, George Soros is involved somehow.
Christian post-national societies. They believe firmly that if different communities, even huge number of, let's say, Muslim communities, and the original inhabitant, let's say, Christian communities are mixed up, the outcome of this will be good. There is no answer whether it will be good or bad, but I think it's very risky. And the chance that it will be not good, but it will be very bad is obvious. And each nation has...
Yes, when Christians and Muslims hang out together in peace, it's especially on relatively neutral territory. There's no way that doesn't turn out bad. It's very risky because some days people might realize that I am an asshole.
The right to take this risk or to reject this risk. We Hungarians decided not to take that risk, to mix up our society. That's the reason why they attack Hungary so harshly, and that's the reason why my personal reputation is very bad. You know, I'm treated like the black sheep of the European Union personally, and sometimes Hungary as well, unfortunately.
So it has been 6 years since Angela Merkel made the decision to let many hundreds...
Yeah, and Germany doesn't even exist anymore. I don't know if you guys have seen the map, but it's now Germanistan, and it's almost completely controlled by the Taliban at this point. I mean, you can't even buy sausage on Earth anymore because Germany is not even allowed to exist.
Thousands of migrants into her country.
Millions, basically.
Millions.
Yeah, millions, thousands.
Non-German speakers, mostly Muslim. What have the effects been in Germany?
You know, diplomacy is...
requires
some well behavior, but it
You mean some honesty?
was their decision. They took the risk, and now they got what they have deserved. That's their life. I would not like to make any categories to describe what was the outcome of their decision. I only insist on that the Hungarians has the right to make our own choice.
You first became famous in the late 80s as a student, as one of the leaders against Soviet occupation of Hungary, and you were
Thanks,
a hero
Stacey.
to many in the United States, and at the time, during the Cold War, we paid close attention to Hungary. I think the U.S. government was on your side, you were on the side of the U.S. government. So 30 years later, Joe Biden, while running for president last year on ABC News, suggested that you were, and I'm quoting, a totalitarian thug.
You see what's happening in everything from Belarus to Poland to Hungary, and the rise of totalitarian regimes in the world, and as well as this president embraces all the thugs in the world.
Is that bewildering for you?
Well, yeah. Totalitarian regimes, he's qualifying him as being one of those, the rise of those kind of regimes. And then Trump embracing thugs in the world, mainly meaning Putin, Kim Jong-un, and the like. But this is another Tucker moment where he's like, you know, he means you, right?
See the change, and how do you respond to that characterization?
So first of all, the reaction of that kind of opinion here in Hungary is always not very polite, but we think, who is that guy to say that? Then we say, okay, he is the president of the United States, so we should take it seriously. But anyway, somebody who does not speak our language has a very limited knowledge on Hungary, even in the recent several decades of our life.
Well, yeah, it's easy for somebody who only recently decided to give a shit about Hungary, like Tucker Carlson, for example, to come over and conflate what Biden was saying about your authoritarian regime and the way you're acting with what Biden's saying about, you know, Putin and Kim Jong-un and folks like that, and the Saudis, obviously, and then to come over and go, you know, you may not know how we speak or, you know, our language very well, but he was really talking about you. You're the asshole here. Just, you're a thug. That's what he meant. Yeah. Just for the record. I mean, who would do that? Who would come over to your country and talk to you?
Don't understanding us, obviously. Having an opinion like that, you know, it's by itself, it's a personal insult for all the Hungarians. But
no, it's specific to you. I mean, the argument always when you're criticizing the leader is the people can do better.
He is the president.
Because obviously, if he shits on, you know, Putin or even Xi Jinping, for example, the premise is that the folks over there could do better than someone like yourself. Just saying.
Of United States, we have to be very modest. We have to be very respectful, And we have to make a lot of things to clarify that what he is doing is rather a fake. We try to do that in a polite way because we respect the Americans. We respect the American democracy, American culture. So we would not like to destroy our relationship because the bilateral relationship with the Americans is basically very good.
Yeah, basically.
We are cooperating well on the field of defense as NATO allies. Economic cooperation is excellent. You are big in.
Oh, that's weird. See, I would have thought Biden would have come in and shut you down because what do you do with a thug?
Here, trade is going very well. Your businessman is finding a lot of possibilities here. So everything is fine, except the politics when the liberals are in government in Washington. That's the problem. So we have to manage that because the American-Hungarian good relationship is a value, even if the Americans don't perceive today it as it was previously. So we have to save what we can save out of it.
But it's a little strange. I don't think Joe Biden is ever.
Yeah. I know you just tried to balance things out and, you know, recognize that the way you think isn't necessarily the way all Hungarians think, and you're trying to project that any insult that comes your way is onto the Hungarian people, and every benefit is that goes to the Hungarian people is obviously felt doubly by you. But can't we just make this fight seem bigger than it is? I mean, I flew all this way.
Referred to Xi Jinping, for example, who has murdered many of his political opponents famously. As a totalitarian thug. Why would he?
Well, yeah, he has.
And not just you, by the way, the Polish government as well.
The problem is the success. So it's a real challenge for the liberal thinkers that what is going on in Central Europe, Poland and in Hungary as well. In Hungary, more outspoken probably. We are speaking probably too much anyway on our intentions. So what is going on here is building.
Are you guys ever going to play Connect Floor, or am I just watching this for no reason?
Up a society which is very successful.
Can someone bring in, I don't know, a monopoly board, something on the table?
Economically, politically, culturally, even in demography, we have some success, family policy. So what you can see here could be described as a success story. But
you're confusing Tucker. Sir, he flew all this way. You're supposed to tell him that it's okay, that basically Biden is Putin and there's no difference, and that the sign that a country is failing is when you let brown people in. That's what you're supposed to tell him. Otherwise, he panics. You can't look at his face. He's very disappointed right now.
Fundamentals of this success are totally different than it is wished and run and created by many other Western countries.
Yes, Risk would be great, although watching these two play Risk would be like, you know, watching two monkeys fight over a Rubik's Cube.
So the Western liberals cannot accept that inside the Western civilization there is a conservative national alternative which is more successful at the everyday life, at the level of than the liberal ones. That's the reason why they criticize us. They are fighting for themselves, not against us. But we are an example that somebody...
You're an example of a racially homogenous country, which is useless when talking about a complex society like the United States of America. Period. It wouldn't work if you went to China and asked them how you run a society. Wouldn't work if you went to any of the major countries in Africa and asked them how, because it's not the same operating mechanism. You're not dealing with the differences in that regard. You just aren't.
A country which is based on traditional values, on national identity, based on...
being Hungarian.
A tradition of Christianity could be successful, or sometimes even more successful than a leftist liberal government.
It's interesting as an American to see this. So the American media, the Biden administration, the State Department is opposed to you because they say that you're a totalitarian thug. Your
No, I mean, well,
opponents are a coalition of former communists and anti-Semites. Is it strange to see the American left rooting for a coalition that includes anti-Semites?
Yeah, let's say if you would have asked me several years ago whether could it happen that the ex-communist political forces and the anti-Semite right is forming a coalition and running together at the election against a pro-Israeli and pro-American, pro-NATO, Western-oriented government as we are, my answer would have been no, it's impossible. But now the international communities accept it. So I understand that here in Hungary, the political parties would like to get the power as soon as they can. Therefore, they try to make a broad coalition against the ruling government. Okay. But to be accepted that, by the international community so easily, I'm surprised. I'm surprised.
Okay, hold on. Biden, Hungarian opposition party. Let's see. Okay, so this is the inside. Oh, hold on. Inside the Hungarian campaign to beat Viktor Orban, disparate alliances face formidable obstacles to unseat the veteran PM. For Hungary's opposition, next year's election is literally make or break. Polls suggest a disparate alliance of 6 parties has a real shot at ending the rule of Prime Minister Viktor Orban, the champion of illiberal democracy who has been in power since 2010. But the highly diverse nature of the alliance, from liberal millennials to small-town conservatives, is a double-edged sword. Oh, that's weird. Liberal millennials to small-town conservatives. What's with the small-town conservatives? When it comes to electoral math, only a broad opposition bloc can appeal to enough voters to take on Orban, but having such a broad coalition means tensions and rivalries are never far from the surface. Why? I think that, look, if one of them is anti-Semitic, they're all anti-Semitic, right? I mean, that's the point we're trying to make. Come on. If Orban wins another term, the highly strained relationship between Budapest and the EU mainstream will be tested even further. Orban has already parted ways with the European People's Party center-right alliance. Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte even suggested last month that it might be time for Hungary to leave the EU itself. Defeat for Orban, a lot of the anti-Orban opposition in Hungary is a product of despair, said philosopher Gaspar M. Tomas, a communist-era dissident who later served as a member of Hungary's parliament. From woke identity politics to sexist, racist, deeply reactionary talk, everything can be found within the opposition. There you go. From woke identity politics to sexist, racist, deeply reactionary talk, everything can be found with this opposition. Basically, there's 7 parties and Orban runs the biggest one. Good Lord. But the idea is that because you don't like Orban, you're rooting for one of these small groups, which is, by the way, one of the conservative right-wing groups within the opposition that apparently is anti-Semitic. Previous failures to beat Orban drive the 6 parties to take the unprecedented step of joining forces. In late 2020, they are expected to nominate a joint candidate for prime minister in a 2-round primary election this fall. In interviews with Politico, all 6 politicians are running for the nomination voiced confidence it's possible to win. But many also spoke of huge internal and external challenges they face to defeat Orban, one of Europe's longest-serving prime ministers. That internally, the far right. Internally, the inclusion of a party with far-right and anti-Semitic baggage in the coalition possesses an awkward challenge for the more liberal groups. Divisions over Hungary's controversial anti-LGBTQ+ law have surfaced lately, and primary races to select joint candidates in electoral districts are fueling competition among the opposition parties. You think? Externally, the challenge includes attacks from the government's propaganda machine and obstacles getting the opposition... Oh, really? They have a propaganda machine? Why would they have what do they need one of those for? Why would they need a propaganda... Oh! Why would they need a propaganda group? If they get... Why would they... oh! That's... I see. In case you don't have a... All right. Opposition leaders are pinning their hopes on voters being concerned, above all, about the state of democracy in Hungary, which has been accused by EU institutions of putting the bloc's core values at risk. A type of opposition voter has emerged for whom it is not important if right-wing or left-wing. It is not important if liberal or social democrat, but it is important to be a Democrat, says Klara Dobrev, a vice president of the European Parliament with left-liberal Democratic coalition candidate for, and the left-liberal Democratic coalition's candidate for prime minister. who apparently is fine teaming up with right-wing anti-Semites. Fucking hell. All right. Tucker's still confused.
Especially the behavior in America is totally new experience for me.
It does seem like Hungary is moving in a completely different direction from the rest of the continent, from the rest of the Western world.
Yeah, because they have a division of 6 governmental groups, 6 parties essentially, and one of them, which represents a minority thought and is anti-democratic, is running the place. And it isn't watch this. I got news for you, and this is probably the part that will shock Tucker, is that even if they shift to a more democratic and more, left-leaning group, the immigration policy ain't going to change all that much.
I mean, do you think that 20 years from now, that will be an unbridgeable divide? I mean, where does that lead?
Let's describe how I see it. What I see that in the Central European countries, the countries suffered the most because of the Soviet occupation and communist dictatorship. So in these countries, my approach, or the Hungarian approach, is very popular. Probably we have a majority in all of that societies. Not only in Poland and Hungary. They are more moderate. I mean, the others are more moderate. But if you understand what they are doing, what are the fundamentals and their motivations, is basically belonging to the same political family anyway.
Yes.
Yes, because people who've been in abusive relationships are less apt to be laissez-faire in their dating, for example, than people who haven't been. They haven't experienced abuse or toxic relationships. And all of these countries have, in dealing with the Soviet Union specifically, were under a thumb that was horrifying for a very long time. It's sort of the same way the Germans are about who can be in leadership.
On the Western society, there is a lot of people, millions and millions of people, who disagree the direction of the policy taken at this moment, which is against the family or not respecting the families, which is more based on migration, which is more open society, which is more welfare, and so on and so on. So I don't say that the political competition is over in the Western European societies. So I see chances, and the key country is Italy at this moment, where the fight and the competition is very open. So I can see chances in the Western countries also that they are able to change their policy from liberal to conservative, or from liberal
So over the last decade and a half especially, there was an overcorrection, and now it's moving back. Like, I'd love to make this, bigger than it is. But that's exactly what he's talking about. That Italy and Germany overcorrected. Now they're balancing back the other direction a little bit. This is honest to God.
Christian Democrats, the chance is there, but we are not internationally well organized. So the forthcoming years are really exciting.
I've noticed in the last few nights in Budapest, I've run into a number of Americans who have come here because they want to be around
white people.
People who agree with them, who agree with you. Do you see Budapest as a kind of capital of this kind of thinking?
The capital of that kind of thinking, or one of the capitals, because the other Central European countries are also very competitive and producing very nice ideas and organizing that kind of communities of conservative and Christian Democrats thinkers as we do. We cooperate with that countries, so that kind of networks are getting closer to each other. It's getting more and more real Central European network.
Well, you have to. That's your route to the water. You can go all the way north. Look at that picture, by the way. Look at this. They could go to the Black Sea, but it means going through Slovenia and territory that is full of a lot more Muslims. So they go north into the water up there. That's how it's a shipping and trade route organization. Jesus Christ. Who doesn't?
To each other. It's getting more and more real Central European network. But not only thinkers. Ordinary citizens, average citizens, are moving to Central European countries. It's not too dynamic at this moment, but the signs are clear many Christian families and conservative families who think that Western Europe is not secure enough, the future is unstable, the public security is not provided, and the ideological direction of the countries or the basic values of the countries built on is changing not to their taste.
Yeah, everyone is moving here because it's safer and less diverse, and so we feel safer here. I mean, if you look at the numbers, it doesn't look like that, but trust me, it is.
Their intention, they are looking for other places. So if you go to the Hungarian countryside, you can find West European families who move to Hungary. First to have the second house, because inside European Union we have a free movement. So first to have second house and then spending more and more time here. So we can't exclude...
Wait, what? You watch your language, young man.
The future of the European history when there will be a new migration from west to the east.
Within Europe.
The Christians and the conservatives try to find a better home. We can't...
It's basically, they're just trying to make a suburb. Hungary wants to be the suburb of Germany.
So up until very recently, Hungary...
Why is he wearing a magenta tie? I'm going to guess to show solidarity with the right wing in America, but also not too hot.
It was a small nation, 10 million people, had two big nuclear-armed allies, the United States and Israel. You were probably Netanyahu's closest ally in Europe. You were close to Donald Trump. Both of them are gone. Where does that leave you?
We are not very much fortunate in the recent years, because Donald Trump was a great friend of Hungary. He was very much supportive to us.
He told me how to wear makeup. I was looking at him and I'm like, wow, how do you get the line so sharp halfway through your cheek? Do you have a woman who help you do this? Perhaps she works as a carny or makeup for a bearded man in the, traveling state fair, perhaps. How do you get it done? Because here I'm sitting over here, look slightly splotchy and green.
Not just personally, but politically also. So there was a good
hype train
between the two countries also.
Where are you from again?
First America first, is a very positive message here in Central Europe. Because it means if for Donald Trump, America first, for us, Hungary could be first as well. And let's cooperate on that basis.
Right.
So that was a very good foreign policy, very effective, and we cooperate.
Yeah, but it wasn't America first as far as, caring for America first. It was America first on the chopping block. America first for sale. Like, well, I got America here. You want a slice of that, or? Whoops.
It very well. The same with Bibi, with Netanyahu, who is a good friend of the Hungarians, and when he was in power, he always invested a lot of energy to have
I got a good idea. Why don't you and Trump and Bibi get together, build a casino, something you know a lot about, and just see how it works out. You know what I mean? Everybody will follow your lead. You don't have to be in a government job. What kind of freeloader are you?
Relation with the Central European countries, we respect it very much. But he lost also. So that the Hungarian conservative Christian, Judeo-Christian democratic thinking lost two major international supporters, and the opponents came into power. So this is a totally new circumstance around Hungary. For me as a politician, it's a strong challenge, how to handle it.
It's very hard to challenge. Luckily, I'm Prime Minister of Hungary, and all I do is one phone call, and Tucker Carlson comes over here as a guest of our propaganda ministry.
An election coming up in April.
Hype train. Don't forget, all today's super chats go to our dear beloved Can't Stop Lying because it's his birthday. Again, wishing him happy birthday today. Sorry to do it with Tucker Carlson's face on the screen. That's the only downside.
Are you worried that there will be international interference in your election?
Yeah. Mike Lindell's going to be over there. He's coming over. He's going to help you guys out.
In Hungary.
That will happen. We are not worried of that. We are prepared for that. Obviously, the international left will do everything what they can do, probably even more, to change the government.
How can they do more than they can do?
Here in Hungary, we are aware of that, and we are prepared for that. How to take the fight and fight back.
Oh, the CNN clip was hilarious. I want the whole interview, though, because it was pretty cut up.
When the President of the United States describes you as a totalitarian thug, which is a very serious thing to say about somebody, I would note. I mean, that suggests that, why wouldn't the Biden State Department work to prevent you from being reelected?
I think sooner or later the Americans will realize that issues in Hungary must be decided by the Hungarians. And it's better even for the
We do already. We just don't kiss your ass.
leftist liberal government in the United States to
We don't like the woke. There's too much woke. Next thing you know, you're sitting in a library full of books you don't read with some sort of spiral staircase like some French fop built it in here or whatever on a rug that wasn't even sewn by Hungarian hands. And then with, oh my God.
a good partner, which is a conservative Christian democratic, supported long-term by the people, Hungarian people. It's better to have that than a government which is...
By the way, I don't know if you know this, but fine Hungarian shellac, no fingerprints. We've been tapping on this fucking thing all during this interview and no fingerprints. I'm just saying, act now.
Supported by America and take the position, but losing after several months.
Yeah, ask him if he's a thug again. How does he feel about Biden? Yeah, but Biden called you a thug. Can you give me a soundbite? I mean, it's hard enough for my audience. You gotta understand. As much as they love your racially homogenous white country, they hate accents. I'm really over a barrel here. Can I ask you about the thug question again? And then you just say something like, fuck him, and bang your shoe on the table? I need video. I'm in a ratings hole right now. I had to make up a story about the NSA looking into me. Notice I haven't talked about that shit in weeks, because that fell apart. Help!
Creating destabilization and uncertainty. So, not loved but stable partner is better than the uncertain new one. That I hope the Americans will understand that.
Why are you, again, welcome back to another episode of Why Is This Asshole Smiling?
No wonder they don't want you to hear what he says.
What are you talking about? I'm sorry, are we supposed to translate what he says in Hungarian into English? Why is the Hungarian government any of our concern?
You don't have to watch your country collapse. You don't.
But you know what you have to do is turn on your lav mic. Because right now you're just going off the one on top of the camera and it's a little fuzzy.
Have to have leaders who hate the population or divide their own people against each other, who make the country worse, who open the borders, who...
Yeah, but there aren't any others in this country. If you're going to make this case, go to a country that has others in it. It's us against, us against them. It's very difficult in our country when the us is the Hungarians and the them is the Hungarians. Honestly, we just stay home and punch ourselves in the face. It's like when the Soviets controlled everything.
Increase crime, who encourage people to live on the sidewalk and do drugs.
Is that what we're doing? Yes, the great American push to get people to live on the sidewalk and do drugs.
If there's any lesson of talking to Viktor Orban, maybe it's that. The conversation went on for quite some time. One thing...
Why'd you edit out the other stuff? You just didn't put in the stuff that... Did he ever react to that side?
You learned, man, the efforts to unseat him intense and stealthy. We'll have a lot more on that.
They're so stealthy, even he doesn't know what they are.
On Tucker Carlson.
It's this insidious don't give a shit strategy of the Biden administration.
Originals.
It's called Operation Bigger Fish to Fry.
Making that documentary now. Hey, Sean Hannity here.
Oh, God. Look, it was bad enough we had to look at Tucker's face. We got to look at yours, too.